What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the latest episode of the Warroom podcast presented by the Sideline Journal. I'm your host, Mason Wrather, and joining me today is Liam Carr.
What's up, everybody? Don't know if you saw it, but Baker Mayfield is in the MVP talk now at this is the start of week 7. That was all around ESPN this morning and the NFL saying, hey, is Baker the MVP? You've heard it here first. You heard it 3 months ago, you heard it 2 months ago, you heard it a month ago, and you heard it week 1. Yeah, very excited about that, Mason, but we got a lot more to talk about besides that.
Got a lot more. We're going to go look at what's going down in Steel City. If you told us 3 months ago that the Steelers should be 4-1 alone at the top of the NFC North, we would have called you crazy. Fantasy terrorism happened out in London. The Jets don't look like they know how to play offense, and Nick Bonito is very quickly establishing himself as the best defensive player in football. We're going to take a look at last week. We're going to look at the coaching firing that just happened. We're going to make some predictions coming into next week. We got all this and more in this episode of the War Rooms. It's officially open. This is the War Room presented by the Sideline Journal, where the film doesn't lie. Let's get to work. Yeah, so kind of looking at it last week, Liam, what was one of the games that you kind of really watched and stuck out to you?
Mason, you're not going to like this, but the first game I just want to talk about real quick is Cowboys-Panthers. From both sides, it was very interesting. Cowboys, we still see that high-powered offense without CeeDee Lamb. Javonte Williams is honestly, as the years go in, and compared to other running backs, he is a running back one for any team.
Yep.
He looks pretty solid. He's been running pretty well. He's above average. You might know more than me, but Javonte Williams looks like he can get it done. And then that George Pickens pickup. It just helps with CeeDee Lamb kind of being out and injured. Of course, we'd want him to be back, but George Pickens looks insane out with Dak. Yeah, but unfortunately, Mason, and you don't want to hear this, but it wasn't enough to get done. The Panthers defense was doing just enough to keep the Cowboys' high-powered offense at bay. And then Bryce Young, I'm pretty sure, I don't know if the stat is true. I'm not able to always research everything right away, but I'm pretty sure Bryce Young in his earlier career already has 7 game-winning drives for the Panthers. Um, that's pretty crazy. I know against the Packers he was really close to a game-winning drive, but yeah, after his government-mandated turnover, Bryce Young turns into Tom Brady. Mason, what did you think?
What I took away from it is, the Cowboys defense makes everybody's quarterback look like Tom Brady. We made Justin Fields look like he can throw a football. We made Caleb Williams look like he was generational. We made Bryce Young look good. We made Jalen Hurts look like he can sit in a pocket and throw the football, and
Looked
Jordan
like a true
Love,
quarterback.
Jordan Love legit looked like Aaron Rodgers. So I mean,
One of his best games, yeah.
I didn't learn anything from this game. I mean, just what made me so frustrated with it is the worst thing you can do as a Cowboys fan is allow yourself to have hope. And the way that Dak Prescott is playing, and with George Pickens, with Javonte Williams, with the play calling at times, you allow yourself to have hope. But this team, the Cowboys are going nowhere as long as Matt Eberflus is the defensive coordinator and we have the personnel that we have on defense. It's going to be an up and down 6-11, 7-10 season. Cowboys are going to be talked about. We're going to say we're going to make some trades, leak some stuff. We're not going to do anything. We're going to let George Pickens walk. We'll take the compensatory pick. We'll make 2 first-round picks, and we'll do Jerry Jones' favorite thing: nothing. But
Yeah,
for,
I'm sorry.
no, you go ahead. You go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm sorry about being a Cowboys fan. You finish your point though.
It sucks, but I mean, for the Panthers, everyone's talking about Rico Dowdle. I'm looking at the run defense that showed up. Derek Brown and Ashawn Robinson announced themselves to the league that they're here and they're here to stay. It was great to see Derek Brown. He's finally healthy this year. He's finally coming into his home. And for as good as Javonte Williams has been, Cowboys couldn't run the football. We had 2.2 yards per carry. Yeah, we had a backup O-line in, but they made their presence felt. And because of that, we were having to hinge our protection in, which made it to where Dak Prescott, we couldn't really do drop back passing. We were either taking it out from under center or doing naked boots, or ultimately the series that ended it, we were trying to throw screen passes and we couldn't. So, I mean, all in all, that game's just really frustrating. Dak Prescott's playing great. The Panthers, I still am not sold on Bryce Young, but that defense is looking good. But, Liam, I want to take it out, and I want to go look at a pretty interesting game that happened between the 49ers and the Buccaneers, your MVP candidate. Because, I mean, talking about two quarterbacks, two teams that are playing extremely well, Mac Jones and Baker Mayfield, are playing incredible. Injuries are derailing both of them. They're both overcoming some stuff. And, I mean, 49ers lost Fred Warner for the year, and they still had a very good shot in that game. And then out of nowhere, that dude down in Tampa decides he's going to convert a 3rd and 14 and throw a 50-yard touchdown to Tez Johnson.
Yeah, this was a game last week. We said it could be a highlight game that we're gonna want to watch, and it was pretty close for the most part of it. The Bucks did pull away 30 to 19, but Mac Jones played pretty good until the pick. But yeah, Baker Mayfield is just fun to watch, and he's really good. That 3rd and 14, I think that's gonna be what I wake up to for this week. I mean, it gets me hyped every time I just think about it. And then just that throw to Tez Johnson, that looked like it just got shot out of a trebuchet. He steps up in this collapsing pocket and just unleashes the ball. Um, yeah, Tez Johnson, great catch. He's throwing to six-string wide receivers, and he's just pulling through. So that game was awesome to see. The 49ers have so much trouble besides who their quarterback is going to be. Just everybody is out. They have every single person out. So that's gonna be a rough one in San Francisco. Definitely not gonna. If they make it to the playoffs, I know that they're up there in the NFC West, but if they make it to the playoffs, they're gonna get whooped by one of these other NFC teams. So I don't know what to do with the 49ers right now.
It's just going to be interesting what they're going to have to do because a lot of their players that are going to get back from being hurt are going to be a lot of offensive players like Brandon Ayuk, Brock Purdy, George Kittle. One of their interior guards is getting healthy and is going to get back. And I mean, this team's prided itself on its defense and CMC being the engine. I mean, if they're going to do anything, it's like the team's going to have to flip its identity. It's going to have to turn into we're going to score a ton of points and try to band-aid it on defense because losing Nick Bosa, losing Fred Warner, that's terrible for them. But I mean, you gotta love watching a rubber match like that early. Cause, I mean, that was two 4-1 teams. One is ascended to one of the only two 5-win teams in the league, and the other one fell to 4-2. So I mean, incredible game to watch.
Yeah, that was a great one. Hey, but let's take it out to New Orleans, where the New England Patriots took on the Saints. Um, Drake May is establishing himself as a primetime quarterback. He was making some great throws. He got 2 touchdowns called back for pass interference. Um, yeah, the Patriots look fun. They're finally using Trevion Henderson. He doesn't look fantastic yet, but he's also a running back that's played like 2 times because they refused to play him before Antonio Gibson got injured. But yeah, they have all the weapons they need. Their wide receiver room is pretty good. They got Will Campbell, who is Mason's favorite player of all time, I believe. Drake May looks pretty decent in the pocket. He can move too, and then he has a great deep ball, and he can do everything inside. So, yeah, the Patriots look real scary. One of their questions was their defense. How is their defense going to hold up? And then right before the season started, remember they got who did they get rid of? Was it Jabril Peppers?
Yeah, Peppers.
Yeah, right. Like 5 days before the season started, people were wondering, what are we doing? And their defense has been holding up pretty good, and we saw that against the Bills. And so, kind of an unconvincing win against the Saints. They only won 25-19, but still, Drake May showed up when they needed, and the Patriots, Mason, look like a team that could really be some problems. Again, in the playoffs, we're 5 years out of like the Tom Brady era, and the Patriots are back in playoff contention. That's crazy.
It sounds crazy, but I mean, right now Monday Night Football, as we're recording this, the Bills are down 21-7.5, and they go to 4-2. That means the Patriots have the tiebreaker, and they're the number one in the AFC East. And so, I mean, we could be looking at a playoff game being hosted in Foxborough, and everyone wants to not believe in the return of the Dark Evil Empire, but the Patriots are here, and they're here to stay. They've got a really young, good quarterback. Mike Vrabel's a really good head football coach, and you got to love what they're building there. But I want to talk about the Saints, because you mentioned something about being 25-19, not a very impressive win. Yeah, the Saints have only won one game. They're 1-5. Spencer Rattler is playing like a starting quarterback in the league right now. They might have something there because they're not going to have to force a pick in a very weak quarterback class coming up. Like, if Spencer Rattler, he's 26 years old, when he was at OU, he was a projected surefire first-round pick. He took his lumps in college, made his way through South Carolina in the Shane Beamer system, paid his dues as a backup quarterback for the Saints, but he's playing some really good football right now. I mean, it's really telling when a veteran like Alvin Kamara is like, nah, I don't want to be traded. I want to stay here. Chris Olave, who had trade demands to start the season, is now being a lot quieter about it. The offense is starting to come alive a little bit. You can see Kellen Moore have his flavor over it. And I mean, the Saints aren't going anywhere this year, but for one of the most terrible situations in the league going into the year, you come out of it with you might have a young quarterback that you can talk yourself into being a starter. You're going to get out of cap hell. I think it's very interesting just watching them continue to be competitive because maybe they have a Lions type switch around where they end up winning 4 or 5 of their last ones. And then next year it's 8 and 9, and then it's the next year. Like that's what I'm seeing, and I thought that game was interesting because I think the Patriots are a really good team.
Yeah, and I had the Saints not even winning a game this year. I mean, I just didn't think anything would happen in New Orleans. I was really worried about that city and what the uh, murder rate was going to be because we all know how cities that, if, how good the NFL team does affects their murder rate. That's a true stat. And so, yeah, but good for them because with these such low expectations to beat the Giants when everybody was buying in, kind of silence the New York Giants crowd down, and then to play super competitive against the Patriots, that's like some nice things to hang your head on. And with Kellen Moore coaching, maybe they're gaining some hope right here. And like you said, Spencer Rattler coming into the year had 0 NFL wins. He's been playing pretty decent. Alvin Kamara is going to go down in history as one of the greatest New Orleans Saints ever, and for sticking with them. And their wide receiver core, it's not terrible. Just their overall receiving core, it's not terrible. It's lower half of the NFL, but you still got Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed is an incredible deep threat, and they got their the tight end situation with Johnson and Hill, very solid. So. Their defense, Tyrann Mathieu gets sent to the Saints, and all of a sudden he retires after doing one practice with them. But they definitely have places to where they can say, look, it's not all doom and gloom. A couple weeks, like, maybe a year away from being competitive, and then maybe 2 years away from being in playoff contentions. Because, after the Drew Brees retirement in 2020, it's just been real tough for them. So, the Saints do have hope as of now. Let's see what they do. Mason?
Yeah, a lot brighter of a future than we thought. But talking about a bright future that I think's brewing, and I'm so glad I'm wrong from last week. The last game I wanted to really talk about, I know it's been talked about to death at this point, but I'm going to add on to it. The Eagles Giants. What a game, what an upset. And the reason I want to talk about it is it's twofold. One, I think Brian Daboll that game saved his job. If you can go in to and beat the Eagles at MetLife in front of the home crowd where Jackson Dart is able to put in the eyes and hearts of all of your fans that that's the next franchise quarterback, they just might let him keep his job even if they only win 6 or 7 games. Him and Cam Scadaboo, with Andrew Thomas back healthy on that O-line, you're starting to see the foundational pieces. If Wan'Dale Robinson comes along as a really good slot, Malik Neighbors comes back healthy next year, they draft some linemen, they're going to finally be in a spot where just maybe the Giants can start to build reputable success longer than just one season. But I want to talk about the Eagles, Liam, because, this is your take, and I totally agree with it, but I'm going to just back it up some more. A couple weeks ago, we said that Jalen Hurts is the bar. If your quarterback plays better than him, he had a good week. If he plays worse than him, he had a bad week. Well, I'm looking at the Eagles, and this team just screams to me the one in 2023 that lost 5 games at the end of the year. Every season that they have not had a coordinator that is now a head coach, they've been a bottom 10 offensive unit. What are you seeing happening down in Philly, Leon?
Um, Man, it's just their offense is so high powered on paper, yet it's just lacking. Like Saquon hasn't been able to get going. Rico Dowdle in the past 2 weeks has I think it's really close to the same amount of rushing yards, and I think Rico might have more than Saquon so far this year in 2 games versus Saquon all year. So that's just super embarrassing. And then, AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. I wouldn't know a better wide receiver one to wide receiver two combo to have. Um, you know, it's just a great matchup. And then Dallas Goedert is just a fantastic tight end. So what is going on? Is it the coaching? I don't know because there's a lot of plays where They call the right play, but Jalen Hurts misses the throw. It's the quarterback. It has to be the quarterback. When Jalen Hurts is not getting shoved for a 1 yard run, what is he really doing? There was plenty of missed throws last week and the year before. Mason, I'm saying this right now. It's that Jalen Hurts is holding back the Eagles.
It's a hot take, but I think it's a take that people need to hear because, I mean, there's no excuse when you have Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson as your tackles. You have Dallas Goedert. You have Landon
Yeah.
Dickerson. You have Cam
Where's
Jerkins.
their
You have
injuries?
A.J. Brown. You have Devontae Smith. You have Jahan Dotson. I just named first-round picks and Pro Bowlers and All-Pros on that offense. I almost named every single starter that goes out there. And I didn't even mention Saquon Barkley. There's no excuse for it. I think it's just very interesting to watch it develop. And it makes the NFC East going to be hilarious to watch because, I mean, I love NFC East Twitter watching the Eagles fans argue with the Giants and Cowboys fans, and then Commanders fans are non-existent. But anyways, that game was a very funny game to watch just because Jackson Dart's good for the vibes, and I will always be here for Eagles slander.
Yeah, and then do you have anything else to say about the Giants, man? You like the backfield?
Yeah, that. So I saw this term and it really cracked me up. They called them the exciting whites down in Giants with Cam Scatterboo and Jackson Dart. And say what you want, them, Brian Daboll, that culture fits. That's the type of quarterback physicality offense that he's trying to run. Everyone's going to make a big deal about the coach looking at Russell Wilson for one play and running into the medical tent, but I think he just was like, Brian Dayball's like, oh my God, this is my job. I got to win this game. Jackson Dart, get out here. Let's play football. He'll get fined, but it'll be fine. I don't really have much to say because, I mean, there's not really a lot to take away. Jackson Dart's not doing anything incredible. He's just layering throws over the middle and he's being athletic with his legs. He's a baby Josh Allen. It's a lot of what we saw him do his first year in the league. It was wild. It was chaotic. He was dangerous, wore his heart on his sleeve. But if there is a coach that's going to rein him in, it's going to be the same coach that did it for Josh Allen and Brian Daboll.
Yeah, and then Scatterboo's fun to watch, but unfortunately he's halfway through his career already with how much you know, leading with the head he's doing. But what about the Raiders, Titans? Anything off of that? Raiders win 20-10. Anything important there, Mason?
I don't know. There's kind of another game where a freaking franchise that not too long ago was the AFC Championship game and spent all this money in the offseason a couple years ago and talked about how that Will Levis was going to be the future, and then they drafted number one overall pick, and it was all Will Levis's fault, and it's going to be this guy, and everything's going to be on. And instead, they just fell to 1-5. So I don't think anything happened. Did something happen?
Well, Adam Schefter broke today that that guy that you're a huge fan of got fired. What's his name? Callahan?
Brian Callahan. So, for all I don't know, we're gonna start something new here. We're gonna do a segment called Coaching Autopsy, where every time a coach gets fired, we're gonna look at their tenure, the history of it, what went right, what went wrong, the highs and the lows. And for Brian Callahan, I thought that it spoke to the mismanagement happening in Nashville. He never should have been hired to begin with. Zach Taylor, he's from the Zach Taylor tree. Zach Taylor was the only reason that Zach Taylor still has a job is because of Joe Burrow. He were a lot of loud rumblings that he's going to get fired until that magical year in 2021 happened where they made their run to the championship game. And so Brian Callahan is Zach Taylor's OC. Well, Zach Taylor never called plays till he was a head coach. Brian Callahan has never called plays in this league until he became a head coach for the Titans in 2023 when he was hired. They do this after firing a top 5 head coach in Mike Vrabel for not winning enough games after the GM that had previously been with Vrabel traded away all of his good players. They then fired that GM, hired a new GM that hired Brian Callahan. After year 1 of 3-14 in the Brian Callahan era, that GM is fired, a new GM is hired, they don't fire Callahan, they draft a new number 1 overall pick, and it's like Urban Meyer all over again. You waste the number 1 overall picks rookie year, and now they again are going to fire the head coach, and you're starting the chain that's been there since a very long time till the Mike Vrabel era of where a GM and a coach isn't lined up.
Yeah, it sounded kind of like what the Bears have with their GM coach quarterback carousel. I just don't understand it. Could you imagine what Cam Ward could be doing right now if he has AJ Brown and Derrick Henry? Wouldn't that be so wild? What happened? Why would they get rid of it? That is just an ultimate running back to wide receiver combo. You have a strong, physical, fast, 50-50 ball getter, and just overall a very talented wide receiver. He's not, the best. He's not like the greatest route runner like JJ or Jamar, but he's just a guy that would be dominant on any side of the field. Then you have like the runner with Derrick Henry, and they got rid of him. I mean, why? Mike Vrabel was obviously a great coach, and then you trade away two, not Hall of Fame. Derrick Henry, I think, could be Hall of Fame. AJ Brown, I don't think so, but um, two very good, uh, all-pro players, and then you just don't win as many games, and then the GM's like, "What the heck? See ya, Vrabel. Definitely, you're the fault." That's just mismanagement on the ownership level. Um, yeah, good for the Titans to get rid of Brian Callahan.
Yeah, it was about time that any of it happens. I mean, there was nothing positive with the Brian Callahan era. I mean, immediately when he got there, they did the dumbest thing you can possibly do. They went on a spending spree in free agency. They went and gave a 30-year-old Calvin Ridley $31 million a year, and he's done
Yeah.
nothing since being there. They went and traded for L'Jarius Sneed when they're supposed to be rebuilding to the Chiefs. He's a 29-year-old corner. They paid him as the highest corner in the league. Since he's been there, he's done nothing. They had Harold Landry and Bud Dupree on massive contracts they waited to cut, where they ate the cap hit for them. They went and signed Tony Pollard to a massive free agency contract when they didn't have an O-line to begin with. They look at Will Levis and say, hey, your number one wideout is going to be a 30-year-old Calvin Ridley who is going to lead the league in drops, and Traylon Burks,
Yeah.
who had conditioning issues. And Brian Callahan had never had game time decision making. He had never hired a staff before. He didn't understand clock management. He had never called plays before. And Will Levis, who did show some flashes his first time starting with Mike Vrabel, turns into the most goofiest, chaotic, wild quarterback to ever start. And yes, part of it's Will Levis, but the majority of it lays at the feet on Brian Callahan. Because then we go watch Cam Ward this season, and we see the flashes. You made a statement in week one. He's like Will Levis because it works. Well, I'm sitting here in my crawl like, no, that's the Brian Callahan way of trying to coach a quarterback in the league. I mean, hire an offensive play caller, you have an OC on your staff that's never called plays, and then you go and take play calling away from yourself and give it to the quarterback's coach. This was bound to happen. I'm just glad they did it this early because maybe Cam Ward's rookie year and career can still be salvaged. And the sooner the Titans can get away from the Brian Callahan era, the better.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Cam Ward looks a couple steps above what we thought he'd be at to begin with. So I'm really glad the start of his career and the trajectory long term of like just the Titans pretty much in general too in Nashville. The trajectory has just gone up a lot more with Brian Callahan not being there now short term with the interim coach and it already being like week 7. The rest of the year, I don't see a whole lot of good stuff happening. I mean, next week they have the Patriots, then they got the Colts, Chargers. So that is an insane three run spree right there, going against the number one, the number four, and then the up and coming Patriots. So it's just gonna be really tough. Like I don't, they're blaming the coach, saying he's the problem, and it's gonna be a tough end of the year. The only game I'm seeing that they might be competitive in is the Browns or the Saints. And if the 49ers keep on getting guys injured, maybe they can pull that one off too. So I really only see 3 possible wins. I know it's any given Sunday, but right now it's just not looking too good for them. So, but long term, I think that it's looking up for the Titans. They got a great young wide receiver core, Elite Io Manor. He's been looking pretty solid. Defense isn't terrible. I mean, yeah, they've let up some points against the Colts, but the Colts are the number one team. Texans put up 26, but then again, they had the ball way many more times than the Titans, and so
And it's hard for the Titans defense to be any good when they're on the field a disproportionate amount of
yeah,
times. The offense can't move it. So
that's what I was trying to get to because one of my points in the offseason was looking at that year, the defense. had a lot of negative stats towards them regarding scoring. But the thing I thought was like, all right, let's look at where the defense started their possession each time because Will Levis was turning the ball over, the interceptions, whatever. So like they were getting the ball within their own 40 every time. So a field goal is going to happen. So that's why like scoring per drive was so high for them. But defense isn't bad. They definitely got a lot to look up to. They're still Mason, just for fun, who do you think's further away from playoff contention, Titans or Saints now? Who do you think is closer to playoff contention in the future, Saints or Titans?
The Saints, and the reason I'm going to say that is the Saints started their rebuild early enough to where finally they're going to get out of cap hell this offseason and they're going to actually be able to build it right. The Titans, they got to rip this thing down from the studs. Yeah, they've got J.C. Latham, who might be an average tackle, young rookie
Yeah,
tackle. If
yeah,
Cam Ward can develop to be the franchise QB, you might have that. Alec Ianomanor might be. I don't think he's a number one wideout, but he could maybe develop into being a starting wideout. Defensively, it's what the Browns are dealing with. You've got a good to mid-tier defense, but the majority of your players are on the wrong side of 30 and on very expensive
yeah.
contracts, right dap smack in the middle of their prime. Like they won. If they today, I was made the GM of the Charger or the GM of the Titans. I'm trying to trade Jeffrey Simmons for a first round pick. I'm trying to trade L'Jarius Sneed for what I can get. I'm trying to lose every
Sure.
game possible and try to rebuild it back because they've got to get out of because for as bad as they are, their salary cap situation is horrific. It is nightmarish, and I think it's
Yeah.
going to take a couple off seasons of where they're going to have to give a head coach a 4 or 5 year contract. They're going to have to pick which side of the ball they're going to make good and then turn their attention to the other side. Because I just think it's been too much mismanagement in the ownership since Mike Vrabel. And I don't know how, hopefully, the job stays desirable because of Cam Ward. Outside of that,
Yeah.
this is not a good job.
That's exactly what I was about to bring up. I don't want to beat this dead horse any longer, but like, yeah, this is not an attractive job at all. It looks like it's going to be incredibly messy at the start, and then you're just going to have some terrible couple years throughout it. But like you said, Cam Ward looks like the shining light. Because I mean, look at their for the offense just there. Talk about veterans and guys on expensive contracts to be this mature in the league. You got Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears. You got Calvin Ridley, and then you got Tyler Lockett and Van Jefferson. All right. Tight end Okonokowa. I definitely
Concoil.
mispronounced that,
Yeah.
but he's not bad, but just not very probably attractive to have at your tight end position. You said J.C. Latham looks promising. I think so too. That's very nice. Build around him and Cam Ward, in my opinion. Those are the two guys I'd really want to stick around. And then Elik Manor, who is their second on the depth chart. And then defense, yeah, I really agree with you. Try to get whatever you can out of Sneed. Jeffrey Simmons is pretty good, but then again, he's just he's a defensive lineman. We can replace him later. Um, Xavier Woods is pretty good, but like you said, I think it's got to be messy with the what you do this first week. It's not going to be pretty, is what I think we're trying to say. It's not going to be super attractive. So just got to get through this part, start building with Cam Ward. That's very nice to say, with a good start at the O line, and then give it 2 years. Have a good free agency in 2 years once you establish a culture with the head coach. And the Titans can be back, but we'll see if they even do that. Mason, you got anything else?
Yeah, I think I'm going to throw a name in the ring here that no one's going to connect because everyone thinks offensive coach when you think rookie quarterback. But the Titans,
No.
historically, when they've been good, they've had a defensive head coach, and they need a culture builder. They need someone to come in and take a culture of losing and turn it into to a culture of winning. I look at this DC that's with the Vikings. It's made a dog's breakfast
Ooh.
personnel wise into a 14-3 masterclass team. He made the Dolphins with horrible quarterback play into a 7-8-9 win team. I'm calling my shot now. If the Titans do this right, this time next year, Brian Flores will be the head coach of the Titans.
I like that call because I think Brian Flores is just eating in Minnesota, and then I thought he got rudely kicked out of Miami. But that is a great call, Mason, and I think it'd be in their best interest to do that.
Yeah, well, kind of transition from kind of the coaching autopsy down there. We can look at maybe more of the brighter stories happening in the league that you wanted to talk about. The Steelers are 4-1 with 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers turning back the clock. What's going on in the Steel City?
Man, AROD is still spinning it. If you had a 15-year coma and you just woke up today, tell him AROD's still doing it. Insane what he's doing out there in Pittsburgh. Before the season, before the AROD signing went down, I had the Steelers being one of the bottom teams. I didn't see much happening. I didn't like their offense, didn't like their defense that much outside of TJ Watt. And I didn't think there was a lot going for them. And then A-Rod's just turning it around, way better than I thought they were going to do. He's just out there. I mean, you just got to watch the tape. I hope we can get the tape rolling below because he had two fantastic throws last week. And so it's just magical what's happening. Clearly, in my opinion, the Jets were the problem, not him. Um, if we want to talk about Jets real quick, and then go back to A-Rod, it's just, what's going on there. I was watching that Pat McAfee clip of A-Rod breaking down his flight from California to New York to hang out with the GM and the new coach Aaron Glenn, and he was hoping to have a long conversation to see where their point is at and see what am I going to be doing, and then is there going to be a fit? And they told him 15 minutes, less than 15 minutes into their meeting, Aaron Glenn looked up at him and said, "We're going to go a different direction." Thank goodness that happened because A-Rod would not be doing good right now, and he wouldn't be doing that what he's doing in Pittsburgh, Mason. I'm so glad he's over there slinging it to DK, a perfectly spotted ball on the outside shoulder to DK for a touchdown, and then he had this amazing. It reminded me of his first touchdown with the Packers against Minnesota. A-Rod was rolling right and then just stops his body, just changes his entire mechanics of the throwing motion, almost hits his forearm on his helmet because he's throwing so awkwardly and gets it to I think the tight end in the back of the end zone. It was an incredible throw cross body. So Mason A-Rod's still doing it. The Steelers are looking pretty good, and I'm trying to see my notes where I'm looking right here. Oh yeah, so their toughest matchups for the end of the season, I think, would be the Packers, Colts, Chargers, Lions, and Bills. Okay, they got five tough ones. All right, if they can sneak one of those in, they can sneak one of those as a win. They play the Bengals twice before Joe Brr gets back, and then if they can take care of the easy games, so Ravens twice because they're pretty trash right now. Like I said, the Bengals twice, Browns, Dolphins, Bears. They have a real good chance at going 12-5, Mason. I did not expect that before the season.
Well, because everyone looked at their schedule and was like, man, the NFC North's a bloodbath. There's absolutely no way that they're going to have a pathway to get to something like that. But I mean, very quickly, the NFL stands for not for long. You're not ever going to be the top dog forever. Like every year you waste a quiet prime quarterback play is a year wasted. And for the Steelers, we talked about it back in July. This is their all-in year. They went and got Aaron Rodgers. They went and traded for DK Metcalf. They went and got Jalen Ramsey. They went and got Jonnu Smith. The love affair with Arthur Smith continues.
Yeah.
And they built a team that finally looks like one of the Ben Roethlisberger teams that makes you feel like, yeah, they haven't won since 2016 in the wild card round. They might not this year, but there's at least hope of competitiveness there. And it's because they are playing Steelers football. They've got a quarterback back there that can make something happen when it needs to. They're playing good defense. They're running the football well. They're not turning it over, and they're relying on the culture of the Steel City. And you gotta love it for Aaron Rodgers because he was lambasted. He was hated on to no end for what happened with the Jets. It's always cool to see when a Hall of Fame quarterback gets vindicated for betting on himself, and that's exactly what this Steelers move was. I mean, they don't really have an O-line. Everyone will try to tell you that Arthur Smith's a terrible OC. I disagree. I think he's good at what he does. But everyone going into this was like, oh, this is just going to be a sad final outing for Aaron Rodgers. And instead, we could be looking at a divisional round matchup of Drake May versus Aaron Rodgers come here in January. So super exciting stuff to look at, but
Be wild.
it'd be wild. But I want to talk about what you mentioned there with Aaron Glenn. So that's how he starts his tenure with the Jets, is he tells Hall of Fame quarterback, we don't need you, we're good. He then goes and is going to say that Justin Fields is our starting quarterback. We are not going to have a competition whatsoever. He's then going to pay Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner 4-year, $120 million contracts. That's what he wants to do with his team. Great. He's going to pride himself on running the football and playing good defense. Well, the Jets are now 0-6. They still haven't forced a turnover in North America, and Justin Fields is the worst quarterback in football. What do you do if you're the Jets?
Yeah, I have no idea because is this just a curse for the Jets? That takeaways was wild. They were like it was the longest ever in the NFL without having a takeaway. Was that it?
Yeah.
Don't show me any stats on Justin Fields and tell me he's a good quarterback because especially this year, if you break down his stats game by game, give me timestamps of whenever those touchdowns happened or the big runs or the big plays. Give me timestamps. They're all in garbage time. When the game's competitive, he's nowhere to be found. Last week in the worst game I've ever had to watch. Thank goodness I left halfway through it. But the Broncos are a good defense, right? The Broncos are a great defense. They're on pace to have 80 sacks,
Yeah.
which is
It's
wild.
crazy.
80 sacks as a team. Broncos, they do not play very good, but watch out for the Broncos. Anyways, game was 13-11. Nothing really happened. So, Justin Fields, all it was Justin Fields holding onto the ball way too long in the pocket and just getting sacked. It was incredible. And this has just been something that's been going on through his career. I saw some NFL analyst like 2 years ago had this video called Justin Fields is unable to read a defense. And that's true. That's come up after that game. So what did the Jets do, Mason?
It's
Man, I don't know, because
it's bad. You don't want to sit there and say that you got to fire a coach after 1 year of being there because I mean, Aaron Glenn, all intents and purposes, his time with Detroit Lions made him look like a very good coaching candidate. But I mean, the Jets, it's not like that they're just a bunch of donks out there. Like Garrett Wilson is a very good receiver. Brees Hall is a very good running back. Armand Membu
yeah,
is a good. Olu
he's been looking
Fashanu.
great.
They've got two pretty good young tackles. The defense with Quentin Williams and Sauce Gardner and Jermaine
Yeah.
Johnson, they've got good players there. There is no reason it should be this bad. But I don't feel like I've ever watched a Jets team be this terrible in a very long time. And it's not
Even
getting
when they
any
had Zach Wilson,
they still won 7 games. They still the defense is playing
even
well.
with Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold's looking like an MVP candidate this year. So I mean, I don't know. It's the same old Jets. It sucks. You've got to look at it at this point. It's an organizational issue. I don't think Aaron Glenn was the right hire for this.
Clearly not.
He's just clearly hasn't been. I don't know where it's going to shake loose, how it's going to go. What I do know is you're not going to win games in the National Football League with negative 10 passing yards for the game. They never should
Has
have
that
even called it.
ever?
I don't even know. Probably because of like the 1960s that we count as NFL, but in the modern era, no. There's no way there's been a team ever to win a game with negative 10 passing yards. I think that's just the line of what happened with the fantasy terrorism that happened in London. None of the teams wanted to be there. The Jets just should have only ran the football. Hats off to the Broncos for winning an ugly one.
Yeah, and like you said, it's just too early to fire head coach. But I just don't think Aaron Glenn's been doing that great, especially when there's press involved, or the AROD story where they just say we're going in a different direction 5 minutes into a meeting, and then just whenever he's in the press, I just don't think it's going great right now. And then especially the clock management at the end of the second half. I don't know if you saw that in this terrible London game, where they just didn't call a timeout and there was no urgency. They were just running the ball. I don't understand that. Did he even address that? I don't think so. Sure, it was like, let's just get to half because it was so terrible. But then you're up 11-10 and nothing changes. That's crazy to say, but that was like that was the latest lead that they've probably ever had this season. So, and it came off of a Bo Nick safety. So, I didn't see any sense of urgency. I'm going to be blaming the coaching, honestly, right now, because I think that their offense has too many weapons. Justin Fields has been pretty terrible, but I think that their offense and defense has too many good players to be wasted like this. So,
I hate that I've ended up having to watch so many Jets games just because I have Garrett Wilson in Dynasty. But I mean, the fact that they aren't just force feeding him the football just blows my mind. But anyways,
and
enough about.
he's injured.
Yeah, I've been just knocking on wood, praying to all my gods that that's not the case. Like
I saw that right before we got on.
in my dynasty league, I've got Malik Neighbors, Garrett Wilson, Nico Collins, Cortland Sutton, Ricky Pearsall as my wide receivers. Neighbors down for the year, looking like Garrett Wilson might be. Ricky Pearsall's been out all year. Cortland Sutton put up a whopping 2 points for me in fantasy. So
Ouch.
not good looks for the Laporta potties. But anyways, kind of going back to Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers. So 4-1, playing good football, looking at the AFC picture ahead and how everything's going with them. Is it crazy to say that the AFC North's already locked up?
Yeah, that's not crazy. Before the season, I would have said you're insane to say that with the Ravens and the Bengals. I would have said it was between the Ravens and the Bengals, and the Steelers maybe, but definitely not the Browns. But with how the Browns are going, with just getting rid of every quarterback, I think they have like 8 or 9 quarterbacks that they're paying this year. That's the ownership's problem right there. Why aren't they looking more into that? And then just the Ravens, I don't know what happened, but is Harbaugh going to be fired next? 1-5, and you have a better roster than the Titans. There's no excuse. And then the Bengals, they're just bad luck right there. We knew their defense wasn't going to be any good, but Joe Burrow being out, um, yeah, it's lucky that they have 2 wins on their belt.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2-4. They're lucky that they were able to pull off that game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, yeah, just insane to me that the Steelers, Mason, I think we should say it, like lock it in. They are probably the AFC North champs this year.
It's crazy to see it. We'll see Aaron Rodgers in playoff football again, this time in the AFC. And so, I mean, kind of going from that, looking at with an eye towards next week, Liam, I mean, I'm looking at a very interesting game involving your Packers against the Cardinals. Could we see another head coaching firing if your Packers can find a way to lock that game up?
Um, Man, I don't think so. I don't think they should. Yeah, I don't think they should. I don't think the Cardinals will. But this season, maybe if they don't just get things going. I mean, we finally saw Marv's breakout game, but
They'll be two and
uh,
five if they lose. I mean,
I yeah, I would be so surprised. I think other coaches would be going first before um, the Cardinals get rid of their head coach. But we'll see if MLF Matt LaFleur gets fired. Geez, you should be on Packer Twitter. They are not big fans of Matt LaFleur right now.
didn't y'all win? Y'all are mad at him for winning football games right now?
We're not mad for winning football games, but we're just a little upset that we still have all those. I don't know. It's just a lot going on, Mason. Uh, yeah. Hey, but what about Bucks Lions? I think that's gonna be a fantastic game. That's my game of the week, Mason. Bucks Lions. This game should be fireworks. What do you think?
Yes, I mean, I think I'd love to take a poll of America of like who's more of a football guy, Dan Campbell or Baker Mayfield, because so those are like if you think two personalities and you imagine like I would love a football team where Dan Campbell is the head coach and Baker Mayfield is the quarterback. I think that'd be insane type of stuff. But no, that playoff game that involved them, that was one of the more fun playoff games, that 2023 divisional round playoff game. And we're gonna have to see if Baker Mayfield can keep up his heroics without probably Emeka Egbuka for that game. I don't think Mike Evans can be back from the hamstring. Chris Godwin is
Left tackle, right guard.
a tackle right
What running back
guard,
one?
RB1, but
Crazy.
it's still the same deal for the Lions. I mean, that game against the Chiefs, if for those that y'all saw it on Sunday Night Football, I mean, the Lions are still just as good as they've always been. I think that they lost that game to some chicanery with the refs. Oh, you're
Zero
rough.
penalties to the Chiefs.
Zero penalties to the Chiefs. They're really missing. I know everyone talks about Terrion Arnold not being very good, but he's still their starting corner. They really missed him in the secondary. Brian Branch is going to be suspended for that game. I think you're going to look at a very explosive, high-scoring type of game
Oh yeah,
that's going to
I'm
involve
ready for it.
just Baker Mayfield against all the studs with the Lions. And I mean, this game too, I think is going to really frame the MVP debate in a way because a lot of people are trying to
Absolutely.
discredit Baker Mayfield, because they're like, well, Jared Goff has the same amount of statistics, but we're going to watch a game where you're going to see Baker Mayfield move heaven and earth just for the Buccaneers to have a chance to win, and Jared Goff's going to throw it to Amon-Ra St. Brown or Sam Laporta or hand the football off to Sonic and Knuckles, or oh hey, there's Penei Sewell catching a hook and ladder, running it for 15, 20 yards. Like, you're gonna watch very quickly the very key differences between where the MVP discussion is. But I just hope that that Monday game gets rolling and gets moving quick, because what I hate the most is that they are still stacking games on Monday night. Like, why? Like that Texans Seahawks game that's going to be after the game, I would have probably loved to
9
watch.
o'clock.
I would have loved to watch that game on Sunday at noon, not Monday at 9 o'clock. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, and man, I feel bad for the people in Central Time Zone. Like Seahawks, sure makes sense, but who cares? It's Western, it's the West Coast. That just makes me so mad. 9 o'clock. NFL, hey, listen to the Sideline Journal. Help us out, please. We don't want it at 9 o'clock. Put one of these at games at like noon or 3, or back up one of the 3 o'clock ones. We're done with this. But Mason, I got 2 more fun games for you. All right. We got the Trash Bowl. Okay, this is who I think is the loser fires their coach. Dolphins,
Okay.
Browns. What do you think?
I If the Dolphins lose this game, Mike McDaniel's getting fired. There's no way he survives it, and it could happen if Miles Garrett finds a way to shake loose and that defense keeps playing up to their standard. I could see the Dolphins losing. I saw this very interesting clip. I don't know who I can give credit to or what Cleveland podcaster was saying it before the beginning of the year, and then it resurfaced very recently after the Greg Newsome trade. The Browns, Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski are not operating with a sense of urgency. Making a trade like they did with Greg Newsome to a young corner they were going to have to pay, just offloading his money and getting rid of it. They're not coaching operating with any sense of urgency. That trade for Mason Graham to pick up an extra first round pick, you don't make that trade unless you know that you're going to be there next year. And the reason
Yeah.
is the Browns are building a new Superdome that's going to open in 2029. This Browns fan is of the opinion that the Browns are not going to try to be competitive until then, and they're not really concerned with anything other than being competitive that year when they've got to sell tickets for it. And so I don't know. I don't think, regardless of that game, what the Browns do, that Kevin Stefanski is going to get fired. I mean, we watched him make Dylan Gabriel throw it 52 times, and he wasn't fired after that. So, I mean, we've seen Andrew Berry decide to give the NFL MVP to Tampa and sign a wannabe
That's
massage
hilarious.
therapist. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen. I think what is going to be telling is if the Dolphins find a way to implode, I think that'll be coaching firing number 2.
Yeah, I think Mike Daniels should have been gone after the Panthers game, but I don't feel bad for Myles Garrett. Whenever you see him at the podium and he's talking about we just gotta score more points, our defense is doing it. You took the bag over winning. All right,
Yes, you
so we
did.
do not care about you feeling bad. You wanted the money, so be happy with what you did. Myles Garrett, you're a baller. You are one of the best defensive players in the NFL right now. But, you chose to be on the Cleveland Browns with no quarterback and no sense of identity. So, not gonna feel bad for you.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I love the shade Mike Tomlin threw at Andrew Berry too. Like, oh yeah, I know what they're doing down there. You have a quarterback that you can
yeah,
leave it up to start as your starter to open the year, and you trade him in division. That was hilarious.
yeah, yeah, stupid. Hey, and then I got this is another big game. I think this is at the noon slot. Let me check real quick. Nope, 3 o'clock. All right, 3 o'clock. We got the number 1 team in the AFC versus the number 4. We got the Colts, ready to make their name etched into the Super Bowl, and the Chargers, injury just beat up. They're still clawing and gnawing their way through. Colts, Chargers, 1 versus 4, 3 o'clock. I think that's going to be a very important game. Is it going to be exciting, high scoring? I don't know. Probably not as much as the Bucks, Lions. But I think it's a very important game we'll look back to come December.
Yeah, I would agree. Saying that's 1-2 in the AFC right now. Colts at 5-1, Chargers at 4-2. The Chargers are holding on to their very slim lead in the AFC West. You've got the Broncos and the Chiefs now nipping at their heels, and so I mean it'll be an important one to see. Daniel Jones, we'll see if he can continue his ascent into being a starting quarterback in the league, and if Justin Herbert can put his Superman cape on again in that game.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and make a bold prediction. I do think the Chargers pull their way out to win that game because the Colts, to
Ooh.
me, they just scream what the last year's Vikings team were. They're going to win a lot of regular season games, but the important games they're going to falter in. We saw them lose to the Rams. I think that they lose to the Chargers, and they go over in the city of LA.
Tough call, man. I really want to see Indiana Jones and them boys do good.
I do too. It's been one of the funnest stories. I mean, I feel great about my take at the start of the year when I said that Indiana Jones would be this year's Sam Darnold. But um, so those are kind of the games that we're looking at for next week. If y'all didn't catch it, Bucks, Lions, Colts, Chargers. Those are going to be two very important games, NFC and AFC wise, for playoff
Yeah.
implications. The toilet bowl of the century with the Dolphins and the Browns. There's also one between the Panthers and the Jets. I think that'll be a hilarious game to watch as well. Will Rico Dowdle run for 300 yards? Who knows? But we always kind of end the show every week where we talk about the MVP ladder and the MVP discussion. Last week, I was sitting here saying that I think that Dak Prescott was just as close as being the MVP as that guy in Tampa. But after this week, Liam, I think it's pretty clear that there's really only one MVP candidate.
Yeah, right now it's Baker's to lose. He's showing everything that he is the most valuable. You know, we like Dak, and Dak was just balling out. He was having one of his best seasons so far. They have the number one offense, but it just kind of stinks that we look at it kind of like a team award too. And so the Bucks defense has been helping out probably Baker a little more to put him in better positions, but still, when the Bucks need Baker to come through, especially that 3rd and 14 run. Baker does it. Incredible. And then he's out there to further with the most valuable. You know, Dak, I know, is out CeeDee Lamb and like their O line, but Baker's out his wide receiver one, two, three, four, left tackle, who's one of the best in the NFL, right guard, who's up and coming, and one of the best running backs in the NFL. So to have all that against you, and I know it's next man up, but to have that all against you and then just still be performing at an insane level, adjusting to the new people around you. Nobody else can do that right now. And so it's Baker Mayfield. He has the highlights, he has the stats, and he has the accolades with the record to go with it. He's the MVP.
Yeah, without a doubt, and I think it's making one of the greatest stories that we've ever got to witness in the game of football. I mean, we're talking about
Yes.
former walk-on turned Heisman winner, number one overall pick, left to die in Carolina, is now clawing his way back to leading a team that's number one in the NFC. They're 5-1, and I mean, 3rd and 14. You told me that the 6-foot kid from Lake Travis was going to find a way to scramble in the league for a first down, then rip a 50-yard bomb. Would have called you crazy. So I think he's clear number one. I don't think there's any really discussion to be had.
He's to lose.
I've seen a lot of people try to bring Patrick Mahomes into the discussion, and I just want to go ahead and take the time here to shut that down. We watched him a week ago throw a pick six to lose the game in prime time against Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Until the Chiefs win 11 straight games and he's back to playing like 2018 Mahomes, keep him out of the discussion. So I hate when people try to push all of the big names because really what it is they bet money on them and they took the odds. They want to just try to push someone who it isn't because no one bet Baker Mayfield to be the MVP. But I mean, still odds makers have Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes over Mayfield, and it's
Above
just
Baker.
crazy. And I
For a
mean,
while, they had Jordan Love above him. I was like, what are you talking about?
So I don't know, I just always think the MVP gets so disconvoluted, messed up, isn't focused on what is actually happening, and it really takes a massive fan push at times to guide the conversation in a certain way. And I think the more that we sing the praises of what's happening in Tampa, because I mean, Tampa's after Tom Brady, everyone thought that Baker Mayfield wasn't going to do anything there. I mean, he was brought in to compete against Kyle Trask. I still have screenshots of
Yeah.
of Twitter heads like Theo Ash and Nico Collins Elite Takes and Brett Coleman saying that on the island of mid, are you taking Drew Lock or Baker Mayfield? I mean,
No, yep, that's true.
the
He said he'd rather have Drew Lock for like
6
1 year,
million.
10 mil,
Yeah.
so it was something like that, and then Baker for like 3. What are you talking about, dude?
So, I mean, I just think that his ascent is something that we have not seen because no one thought he was going to be able to do it in Tampa, and all he's doing in a league where any given Sunday he's got him at 5-1. So I think it's just been incredible to watch.
It's been awesome. My last take I got is Chris Collinsworth Sunday night. We watched Patrick Mahomes run for the third down, get stopped. He got hit like twice, real good. And Chris Collinsworth is just glazing him, saying, "What quarterback is doing this?" This just tells you that some of the highest paid and most important characters regarding football don't even watch football. 3 hours before that, Baker Mayfield had one of the most incredible scrambles on a 3rd and 14 and gets hit a couple times and just stretches out, barely gets it. And Chris Collinsworth has the audacity to 3 hours later say, "What quarterback is doing that to a quarterback who fell short of the first down?" So just embarrassing to see out of the NFL produce that. Let's see that Charlotte Hornets commentator who came up for one game for the Panthers call some more games. That was some real excitement. So
Honestly, I mean, off script, you're talking about color analyst. The best color analyst out there right now is Greg Olson. I mean, I still remember when he got
yeah,
to call the 2022 Super Bowl, and it was incredible. I mean, he constantly takes you in. It's like he has a great way of making you feel like you're in a film room live, but he still keeps it entertaining. Like, I don't know. I think if we got the Charlotte Hornets announcer as the play-by-play, and then we got Greg Olson as the color analyst, you'd have the best broadcasting team out there. But Chris Collins, it's like Chris Collinsworth says, there's no guy like Patrick Mahomes. So, anyways, y'all, that's all that I think that we got for this week's episode of the War Room. We made some predictions going into next week. We've said that Mike McDaniel's probably going to get fired. The AFC North is already wrapped up. Tune back in with us next week. Tell us how wrong we were about some of our predictions. Maybe Baker Mayfield somehow throws 5 interceptions and he's no longer the league's MVP. So what's great about this deal, and it changes week to week, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace out. We hope you enjoyed this latest episode of the Warroom podcast presented by the Sideline Journal. This is officially our 21st episode, and we now have crossed over 1.7K views lifetime on the podcast. We really appreciate all the support and you riding with us. We're so close to 300 subscribers. If you could consider dropping a follow down below, checking out the full playlist, it would really help the channel out. Anyways, we appreciate you guys riding with us, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Peace out.